I did not expect to like this book as much as I did. I finished the audiobook for Project Hail Mary yesterday, and oh my goodness, I liked this book so much more than I thought I was going to. It has kind of mixed reviews on Goodreads, and like a lot of people saying, oh my goodness, it's such a genius book, and it's so good, and it's wonderful, whatever. And a lot of people saying that like, it's hyped up way too much, and Andy Weir's writing is not actually that good, and why do people think this book is so good, whatever. So it had very mixed reviews, and a friend of mine had read it, and didn't really think much of it. So I wasn't sure what I was going to think, but I was looking for another audiobook, and my brother had this one, and I said, let's give it a try. I've been wanting to read it anyway. Overall plot, Ryland is on a mission to save Earth. There is something that is damaging the sun, and the Earth is going to freeze in however many years, and so Ryland has been sent to find a solution to that. So I obviously didn't read the physical book. I don't even own the physical book. So that, makes an impact. That makes a little bit of a difference of, how you, of my experience with a book. If you read the physical pages versus having somebody read it to you, you're going to have a different experience. And I think that shaped my thoughts on the book a little bit. Maybe I wouldn't have liked it so much if it was just me reading a hard copy to myself. But having it read to me, I really liked the narrator. Not always. I feel like sometimes he was a little overly dramatic, and it was a little bit cringy, but for the most part, I really liked his narration. There might have been some parts that reading them on paper were a little awkward, but the narrator made them a lot less so. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed his narration for the most part. Like I said, there were some parts that just felt a little cringy or a little too overdone, but for the most part, he did a really good job, and it helped me to connect more with the character, because I think that's another problem people had, is that Ryland Grace is too much like the main character in The Martian, which I can't remember his name. I haven't read that one. I've watched the movie. Can't remember his name. But anyway, people say that the characters are pretty much the same, so they didn't connect as much with Ryland after reading The Martian, because they just felt like they're carbon copies of each other. So Ryland didn't seem to have like... He seemed kind of like a cardboard cutout of a person. But I think having a narrator who like puts his heart into the novel, and they're not just like reading the pages monotone or something, but they're actually trying to make it interesting and, playing that character, it makes me connect more with the character even if they're not super well written. So maybe Ryland wasn't super well written, but I kind of felt like he was fleshed out more than I thought he would be. There are some nuances that come up throughout the book, but also the way that it was written makes it a little bit hard to know him, because he doesn't even know himself. This is not a spoiler. This is, page 1 of the book. He wakes up and has amnesia and can't even remember his own name. So he knows nothing about his past, nothing about where he is or what he's doing. Like I said, can't remember his name, can't remember if he had a family or what his job was. Doesn't know any of these things. He's having to figure them out. So you figure them out with him as you go along. And so he's kind of like reinventing himself a little bit. But of course he also has like personality traits that carry over through the amnesia. So maybe he wasn't like the most fleshed out, dynamic character I've ever read. But like I said, having a good narrator helps him to feel more dynamic and more real. He's almost the only character in the book. Not entirely. There are other characters. I really liked one of them. I can't say who because it's a huge, huge spoiler. Yeah, so I'm not going to say who my favorite character was. But I had a favorite. But yeah, but for the most part, it's just Ryland. So like he has these flashbacks, and so you see other people in his life. But you don't really see them a ton. There are a couple characters, that are present in like every single flashback. But I don't have a whole lot to say about them. They did feel separate and different, but again, that might have just been the narration and how like they all have accents and different voices and different ways of speaking and different cadence. Their cadences are different. They felt okay, but again, we're seeing them in the past. They don't really matter as much. Ryland's the only one we meet. So that's all I can really say about the characters. I did like Ryland. I didn't have any big issues with him. He was sometimes super cringy, but, that's okay. I kind of liked him, and I really liked this other character, but, can't tell you a whole lot about him. Okay, as far as the writing goes, I was not super impressed with the writing, and I think, again, if I had read it myself, I would have had a lot more trouble with the writing, but having it be read to me as I'm working and doing things, there were definitely parts that I was like, ooh, that was cringy, that should have been cut out, or that should have been changed, or why was that written that way? Like, there's a lot of Ryland is just talking to us, and so he'll be saying something and then be like, oh, wait, I'm so dumb, and then whatever. And it's really weird. And I think reading that would be a lot weirder than having it sound like he's talking to you, kind of. Like, that made it feel a little bit more okay, those instances where he just kind of, like, breaks out of what he was saying and what he was talking about. It's really weird. It feels like he's writing a diary. But that's not... But I don't think he is writing a diary. So, like, it's written... I don't know. It could have been really, really cool if it had been written as a diary, which maybe that's what The Martian is. But doesn't he, like, log things in The Martian? I can't remember. It's been so long since I've watched that. But I feel like he logs things, and so he is just talking to the viewer or the reader, which is us. So he can, like, talk in that very informal, very, like, casual, conversational way. Whereas I don't think that Ryland is doing that. I don't think that he's, like, making video blogs or a diary or something. It's just from his perspective. So it just feels a little bit weird. I think if it had been established that he was writing a journal or something, then maybe it would have felt more natural. It just felt very unnatural, those times that he kind of, like, breaks out of whatever he's saying to, like, say something else. I don't know. It felt weird. I don't have an example because I don't have the book with me. So I can't even give you an example. But like I said, just times where he's saying one thing and then it's like, oh, right, this is what I meant, or whatever. And I'm just like, why is it written like that? So that was a little bit difficult, but again, would have been a lot more difficult if I had been reading it myself. The audiobook really helped. So I guess maybe if you're scared to get into this one, or you think that, like, that'll be a problem for you, listen to the audiobook. It was so good. It's not a very long book, and I had it on 1.5 speed. If I have the book with me and I'm able to, like, really pay attention, I'll put it on, like, almost 3 times speed, but when I'm working, I want to just enjoy the book, and I kind of want it to last as long as possible, so 1.5 is what I use when I'm working, so I can, like, really pay attention, because I tend to not pay attention. My mind tends to wander while I listen to things, which is why I usually don't just listen to audiobooks. This has been a really new thing for me. I usually have to have the book in front of me or else I don't pay attention. But my mind didn't wander off at all during Project Hail Mary. The whole first day I listened to like 6 or 8 hours of it, I think. And the whole time I was just like enraptured and I thought it was so cool and so much fun. And it got to like my favorite parts and then I was like, oh, I have to go home now. Like, I'm done working. I can't just stay here. I almost would have just like stayed and worked if I had other things to do. But I was like, no, gotta go home. But yeah, so I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Like, I want to talk to that friend who didn't like it so much and see what she didn't like about it. And I do kind of wonder if it was the writing. It also might just not have been her type of story. Like, I really enjoyed the sci-fi aspects of it. I know some people thought that there was like way too much science and math in it. And yeah, there was a lot, but it wasn't super hard to follow. And it just kind of made me feel like Andy Weir really loves science. And that can be really fun in a book. And that's how I feel reading some of Michael Crichton's work, is that like he really loves these things and he's very knowledgeable about what he's writing about. And he doesn't like go completely overboard, but he makes it, you know that the characters know what they're talking about, you know that the author knows what he's talking about, you know that he's passionate. And it makes it fun for me, I think. It's nice when the author is like passionate about what they're writing about and you can trust them because you know that they're passionate. So I didn't really mind all the science talk. I like science myself. I just could never be a scientist. There's way too much math involved. I don't love the math. But yeah, the science part of this was really cool. There were some times that I got lost and I was like, wait a minute. He's been talking about science and telling us this thing and I have no idea what he's talking about. But you know, it's okay. It's not like integral to the plot. I'll still understand the plot if I don't understand this science. So I think that you can still have a good time even if you don't fully understand all the science that he's talking about. I think it's still fun. As for the plot, man, Andy Weir is really good at, but wait, it gets worse. Which, that's something my professor loved to tell us. When you're writing a book, every time you want your characters to have troubles. That's what moves the plot along, is that they have this thing they have to overcome, or there's this other problem, whatever. Make it worse for your character. Just keep making it worse. And like, obviously not forever. They have to overcome these things. It has to eventually get better. But that can be, if you're stuck in a scene, that's one way to move the scene along, is say, but wait, it gets worse, and figure out how you can make it worse. And then that changes what your character is going to do and how they're going to react and the choices they have. And so it can help you move along. And Andy Weir is really good at that. Every time you're like, okay, cool. They solved this big problem. Everything's okay now. We're at the end of the book. It's going to be fine. He says, oh, but wait, that problem we had? Haha, here it is again. And we don't know why. And there's going to be, I don't know. And you don't know if like the mission's going to succeed. So he was really, really good at that, at the whole, but wait, it gets worse. But I mean, that made it really interesting and made it, keeps the character moving and keeps you reading. So I thought that was well done. And I did think that the plot was really cool. Like, There's a lot of, space science fiction where like it's mostly grounded on Earth or like in our world. It's not sci-fi like a space opera like Star Wars or something. It's mostly grounded in what we know. But, trying to save the universe or trying to save Earth or getting lost in space or whatever. There's a lot like that. But I thought that this one was really cool and had some uniqueness to it, had some unique plot points and characters and things brought into it that made it feel special. So, yeah, I really, really liked it. I liked it a lot. If we're going on vibes alone, it's a 5-star read for me. I had so much fun. I would read it again in a heartbeat. I want to own it now and go through it and read it myself. And I really want to see how some of it was done. Because there are some parts in it that, like, don't have dialogue or, like, written anything. Like, I don't know how he wrote them into the book because they're just sounds, but they're important to be in there. So I am really interested to see how parts of it were written. And maybe that's another thing that made it hard for people, is that you're having to read these things that aren't actually words or don't make any sense. So that might make it hard. It might just work better as an audiobook, and I'm really excited for the movie. I'm hoping that it's good. I'm hoping that they do it justice, because I'm a huge fan of this book now. Like I said, vibes alone, 5-star read. I'm knocking it down a star because the writing was really cringy at times. Definitely could have been a little bit better written, or just different. I don't think that the tone of it really fit the story all the time. So that could have been improved. I'll knock it down a star for that. I'm kind of excited to try The Martian. I'm taking a break. I'm reading a biography on Dietrich Bonhoeffer right now, because I don't want to do Andy Weir back to back, especially when people say that the characters are so similar. I don't want to just, I don't want to do that. I want to give it some space. But I am interested to read The Martian and see if I like it as much. And I'm sure that I'll read Project Hail Mary someday again. Again, it's such a short book. At least the audiobook is. It's only, I don't remember how many hours. I'll put in how many hours it is. But it's not a long audiobook. It took me 3 days to do it, and one of those days I just had like an hour left on the audiobook. I recommend it. If you like sci-fi, if you're looking for sci-fi, go for it. And it's also super, super clean. There are a couple swear words, but most of the time not. Most of the time he's saying like, gosh darn it, or holy moly, or whatever. Like, usually he's not swearing. There are only a few instances where he swears. So swearing is like moderate, or I guess mild. I don't really know how it works. Swearing is mild, I guess. There's no like graphic content in it either. So that was really nice. There's not like a ton of violence, and there's no like sex or nudity in it either. There's a discussion. So, it's not like meant for 10-year-olds, but I say that also would be like mild. There's not an actual scene, there's just a discussion. So I guess go with caution about that, but that's honestly about as mild as it could get. It's kind of hard to find an adult book that is clean, so I really appreciate how clean this one was. I am going to continue for just a minute, and I'm going to include spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers, go to whatever the timestamp is that we're past the spoilers, because I don't want to ruin the whole book for you. There is like a really big surprise in it, and I don't want to ruin that. So if you don't want spoilers, go to the timestamp, but spoilers start now. Okay, so this means that I get to talk about my favorite character, who is Rocky, and Rocky is an alien. And I just loved, oh my gosh, I loved the whole entire meeting of Rocky. Like, that was my favorite part of the book. I want to read Arrival because it might be similar, I might like it. But Rocky's just super personable. So I think that made me love him so much. Like, even if Ryland doesn't feel super charismatic or like really well put together or something, Rocky was so personable to me and so much fun. I loved him. And it's so cute. Oh my goodness. It's so cute. He's just like copying what Ryland does, and it's like, oh, it's like this little baby that's trying to communicate with you, and you don't know how to communicate and whatever. So anyway, Rocky was my favorite part of the whole book. Really, really loved him. And the reason I'm bringing him up is because I want to talk about the ending also, because there were a couple different ways that the book could have ended. Very briefly, overall plot. You already got the like really brief synopsis of this book. So the thing that is killing the sun is this like little tiny alien amoeba thing. So, like, it's alien life, and it's not, like, super smart, scary alien life. It's just an amoeba from another planet, basically. Or, like, a tiny being from another planet. It's been using the sun's energy, and it's, like, dimming the sun little by little. So, big problem. Earth kind of is situated perfectly from the, like, perfect distance from the sun. The sun is the perfect heat. God has designed all of this very amazingly. So having the sun start dropping degrees is going to cause huge problems for the Earth. Anyway, so Ryland is out looking for a solution to this because there's this one star that isn't being affected. And they're like, okay, well, why is this star not being affected, but all of the other stars that we can see are being affected? So he goes out to find it. He learns all this throughout the book as you learn it, because like I said, he has amnesia and he has no idea what's going on. He just has to like, well, I guess I'm here now. I'm just figuring it out. So it very slowly comes back to him and he figures out like, oh, this is my mission. Okay. While he's out there, as he's like, you know, traveling through space, he sees this other spaceship. And he's like, I don't know what this is. It's huge. It has to be alien. There's no way, like, Earth sent this one also. We don't even know what we're doing. Like, this is crazy. And it's so stinking cute, because, like, they're sending gifts back and forth. Not really gifts, but they're, like, sending things back and forth. And at one point, he waves to the alien ship, and it has this big, like, robotic arm, and it waves back. And it's so cute. And, like, there are a couple more times when he's like, oh, it's just copying me. Like, it can't know what that means, but it's just trying to do what I'm doing and trying to communicate. So he and Rocky eventually figure out how to communicate. And this is why I want to see how it's written in the book, because Rocky's language is all just like musical notes. And he equates it, or Ryland equates it to whale song. So like in the audiobook, it's just like, oh, these musical notes, whatever. I'm like, how in the world do you write that? Like, what does it say in the writing? Like, I don't know, C#? I don't know. So I'm really interested to see what the book actually looks like. Anyway, so obviously, you know, Ryland and Rocky, they're on this adventure together for a while, and they get really close and connected. And when, like, they finally figure out a solution and have to go back to their separate planets, it's a very sad moment. And I was so sad. I was like, oh, like, I kind of knew he'd have to say goodbye to Rocky at some point, but, like, I'm really sad he has to, and I wish we could see Rocky forever. So anyway, so he says goodbye to Rocky. You know, Rocky goes off to save his planet. Ryland is going back to Earth. And then there's a big problem. So the astrophage that is eating the sun, they found what he calls Taumoeba that eat the astrophage. So he's like, okay, if I can bring back this Taumoeba, it'll eat the astrophage that's eating the sun, and everybody will be saved. Great. But he needs the astrophage to power the ship. So on the ship, he has the Taumoeba and the astrophage separate. And again, they're both like tiny little, tiny, almost microscopic. Honestly, they're tiny microscopic amoebas, basically. Like little things. So he can't just like watch them all the time, and you can't just put them in a cage. They're in these like special devices and special boxes, and they're very separate and like contained. Somehow the Taumoeba get out and start eating all of his astrophage fuel. And he's able to stop the problem. He finds the leak, fixes it. But then he realizes that Rocky is going to be in the same boat, because the way the Taumoebas got out, they can get out the same way on Rocky's ship, and Rocky will have no idea until it's too late. Because Rocky's not a scientist, he's an engineer. So anyway, so he like is looking for Rocky's ship. He's been able to keep track of it because of science. Basically because of the astrophage, the fuel, like whatever. He's able to keep track of it. He can no longer see it, so he knows that the Taumoeba has gotten out and destroyed all of Rocky's astrophage. And he's like, okay, well now I need to go find Rocky. And I'm like, yes, you're going to go back to Rocky. This is what I want. I want to see Rocky. Go see him. Go, I don't know, like just bring Rocky with you. We want Rocky. So anyway, so he finds Rocky out in the vastness of space because of science. He finds Rocky, but this means that Ryland cannot go back to Earth because he doesn't have enough food for the return trip, and he can't eat Rocky's food. So, you know, there's like this very sad moment where like Rocky's so happy, and he's like, oh my gosh, you're back, and you can save me, and you can come back to my planet with me, and we'll get you all the fuel you need, and we'll send you back to the Earth, and like, this is so good. And Ryland's like, well, I'll go with you to your planet, but then I'm gonna die because I don't have food. And so there's like this really sad moment, whatever. But I'm like, I don't care. We're with Rocky now. Like, for the rest of the book, we get to be with Rocky. I'm so happy. And I love the way that it ended, because I didn't really know. I was like, I guess they could somehow figure out food for Ryland and then send him back to Earth, and like there'll be this other goodbye from Rocky. But like, I don't really want Earth to know about Rocky, because we suck. And it's not just all of the movies where it's like, as soon as we see alien life, we kill it and we destroy everything. I'm like, you tell Earth that there's this other planet out there with alien life, and yes, for a while things will be okay, and maybe we'll figure out a way to communicate and whatever, but like, at some point, you know that Earth people, you know that humans are going to destroy that other life, or there's going to be a war or whatever. Like, we're going to introduce all these terrible things to Rocky's civilization, and I don't want to do that. So I'm like, Ryland, just stay there. Like, don't go home. Don't tell people about Rocky. They don't need to know. He did send the Taumoeba back to Earth, so like, Earth isn't going to die. And I'm like, you know, Earth is fine. all of your friends are probably dead anyway. You've been away for so long. Like, just stay with Rocky. And that's what he does. And it's so cool because we just kind of like skip a bunch of time and he's like, okay, I've been here this long now and I'm like fluent in their language and they're fluent in my language. They can't speak each other's language, but they understand. And he's like, oh, we figured out food for me because they found out he can eat the astrophage, and then they learned how to like make other food for him. So now he's surviving, he's eating. They have like this little habitat for him, and like the aliens can come and see him and say hello, and like he just has this community with them, and he can still see Rocky, and it's so fun. And then the way the book ends melts my heart. Okay, so back on Earth, Ryland was a junior high science teacher, and he loved his students, and like they all loved him, and he's the fun science teacher who knows all these things because like he was a scientist and then decided to teach. And so he's been really sad to leave them, and like he's sad to think about they're growing up without him, and hopefully they're all still alive because Earth is dying and whatever. So like that's been a thread throughout the book. And so the way that the book ends, the last chapter, the last section, whatever, Ryland, like, he says hello to Rocky, he has like a little banter with him, whatever, and he's like, okay, well, I gotta go now. And he goes to this other part of his enclosure, because like they can't breathe each other's air, they can't be in the same place, but they've made this like clear habitat for him to live in. And so there's one part of it that like connects to this other room, and there's a whole bunch of little tiny aliens, and they're all like bouncing around and having fun and whatever, and he's like, okay guys, everybody settle down, like, let's do class. And it's so cute. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's teaching the little baby aliens. Like, he still gets to teach, and he has all this community. And, like, you kind of figure out that he's just going to stay there. Like, he's old now. He doesn't know if he could make the trip back, and he's thought about it. He's like, maybe in a few years. And I'm like, nah, man, this is where you live now. You are one of them. Which I can't remember what they're called right now. Part of that is because I don't know how it's spelled. I kept thinking it was spelled different ways. Aryanites? Or Aryan something? I don't know. But anyway, I'm like, he just lives with the little aliens now, and Rocky is part of his life forever, and it's so cute. So, I don't know. It's just a feel-good book to me. I love a feel-good book. I love the feel-good moments, and I love characters that I can connect with. And, like, once I connect with a character, it's over. I love the book. It doesn't matter. If I can't connect with the characters, I'm going to hate the book the whole way through. This is for another video, but that's why I hated The Road. I could never connect with the characters. They were the flattest characters I've ever seen. So, like, hated the book because I hated the characters. But I loved Rocky, so I loved the book. And I didn't mind Ryland before that, but as soon as Rocky was part of the picture, it was over for me. Favorite book, love it. So, we're back. If you skipped here to avoid spoilers, I don't know, I feel like I'm glowing. I'm so happy I just got to talk about, like, my favorite parts of the book. And, you know, if you want spoilers, you can go listen to that, but also read the book for yourself and then come back and listen. Like I said, it's not a long read. Just go do that and then come back here and watch, and you can see my thoughts on my favorite parts of the book. But anyway, okay. That is officially it now. This has been so much longer than I meant for it to be, but thank you for sticking around. Let me know down in the comments, have you read either The Martian or Project Hail Mary, and what did you think of them? Are there other science fiction books like this that you really love? I'm starting to get a little bit more into science fiction. I have access to my brother's entire Audible library, which the whole scandal with Audible, that's for another day, whatever. But these are all books that he's already bought, and like, yes, I'll listen to them. They're free to us now. So I'm listening. They're like 95% sci-fi. So I might be reading a lot of sci-fi in the near future. But yeah, this was a strong one to start off on. I loved it. Anyway, okay, so let me know what you're reading down in the comments. Again, let me know if you've read either of those or any other science fiction book like that. Are you excited for Project Hail Mary, the movie? Because I am. I'm so excited. It has Ryan Gosling in it. Like, that alone, I'm sold. But I'm really hoping that they do justice to everything else. I hope it'll be a really great movie. Regardless, I'll be reading Project Hail Mary again at some point in the future. If you like the video, please give it a like and subscribe. That would be really helpful. As much as I love doing these videos for myself, I would also love to grow this channel and share it with people. And I hope that my reviews are helpful. I have a really fun time filming them and talking about them. This is kind of a way for me to just like vent to somebody. But I hope that you also enjoy watching them. Again, if you do, leave a like, leave a comment, share with your friends. I have a bunch of review videos, so go check those out, and I will have more in the future. I'm still reading, so I'm still doing book reviews. Who would have thought that the little 10-year-old who hated to do book reports would now be doing book reviews on YouTube? Crazy world. But that's it. If I stay here any longer, I'm just going to keep rambling. So I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.